About to leave, already packing. Come with me, I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be.
Hello everyone and welcome to this tutorial. So we are going to be starting off with the brows as per usual. I am using my Benefit Ka-Brow in the shade 5 and I'm using a crown angled brush just to fill this in. I'm starting off at the base of the brow and pushing my product upwards into the model's brow hair and then just finishing off the tail. As you can see, she has some extra hair growth underneath the tail of her brow, but we are just going to fake a sharp clean brow and we're going to use our Tarte Shape Tape Concealer to help prime the eye but also to help conceal any little hairs that we may not want to see, and it'll just make it look like she got a fresh wax or tweeze or threading, whatever you do. And that's what I love most about this technique, is that you can really fake a nice clean brow even between waxes. So here I'm just kind of speeding it up because you guys have seen me done this time and time again. I am just pressing with a MAC 252 brush the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer all over the entire eyelid space and in the inner corner, and we are just patting it to help mattify it and to help kind of dry it down a bit, because we are going to be using this as our eye primer as well. For the eyeshadow for this look, I'm using the Marc Jacobs Editorial palette, and I'm using this super matte, super taupey gray shade, which is not really like what I tend to reach for normally, but I was stepping outside of my comfort zone with this color combo, and I wanted to start off with a more cool tone because I really wanted a dark crease color, and for me, cool tones just seem to pay off a little bit darker than warm tones. Warm tones can be a little safe at first, but with a cool tone, you know, you really got to have your placement down right, because a cool tone will look muddy if you are not careful. So in just small circular motions with a blending brush, I'm gonna be just going back and forth and the crease in circular motions. I'm then going to be using a little bit of a warmer tone now. This one is from Makeup Geek and I'm just taking it on the same brush. So this one we're actually kind of mixing it together with the first shadow, because like I said, the first shadow is a very cool tone, and now that we have the placement down, I have the depth that I want. I'm using this shadow to help blend it all out, and I'm just using it to kind of give a more of a diffused look to the outer edges. I'm using a bigger blending brush now to do that. Then I am taking this shade, and I will have the shades listed down below. I just don't know the shades off the top of my head right now, but they are Makeup Geek eyeshadows, and I'm taking a different blending brush, and now this one I'm just going all along the edges to diffuse it out more. So to create this spotlight eye, we're going to darken the inner and outer corners. So I'm using the darkest shade from the Editorial palette. It's like a black shadow with little bits of glitter in it, and I'm taking a very, very small little blending brush, and I'm just applying this on the inner C and outer V of the eye, and then I'm just going to be grabbing my previous blending brush and try to pull whatever I can from those two sides just to kind of meet somewhat in the middle. Now for the spotlight, we're going to be carving out that area with some shape tape as well in the MAC 252. This brush is great to do this because the shape just kind of already creates that half cut crease look for you. And I'm applying most of the concealer in the center because that's where we're going to want it to be the brightest, and then just working with whatever's left on my brush, I'm going to begin to just fade that away into the inner C and outer V areas, because we don't want it to be as bright and pigmented, because we want it to kind of fade away into the darkness on this eye look. So I'm taking this very white, bright, shimmery shade, and I'm going to be placing this down the middle of that newly created spotlight with the concealer. So I'm just placing this down the middle. Like I said, this is the brightest part of the eye, which is going to be the center. So I'm just patting it down, and then I'm going to be taking this yellowy gold, which is such a beautiful color, by the way, and this is going to be kind of like what melts into the black. So we're having that nice contrast of super bright in the center, a little bit darker on the edges, and then super dark on the outer part where we're no longer in the spotlight of the eye. So that creates that kind of effect where it looks super bright in the center. So you really want to play up with your shading and with colors. To create just a little bit more interest, I am adding some glitter liner along the edge of the cut that we made with the Tarte Shape Tape on the spotlight part. I just think that the glitter really made this look pop. Also, a little tip, if you feel like your line wasn't super sharp with the cutting and carving it out, This glitter will kind of help hide that, because glitter, as we know, is imperfect. I mean, it's chunky, so you can kind of help mask any unevenness that you may have had when you were creating your spotlight. Next, for the liner, you guys have seen me do this so many times as well. I really wanted a dramatic liner for this look, so I did it a little bit thicker and a little bit longer than normal. I'm using the Maybelline gel liner, and I am just using this all over and with a paintbrush from Walmart. It's a very fine paintbrush, but if you want to be bougie, you can buy the Sigma wing eyeliner brush. They're basically the same thing. And once the liner is down, I'm going to be priming her under eye area with the same Tarte Shape Tape that we used to prime the top lid. I wanted to do the bottom eye, or the bottom part of the eye already, because this look was very smoky, very blown out, and I felt like it was just appropriate to do this first before the rest of the foundation. I just wanted to complete the entirety of the eye look before going further and focusing on the skin. So I'm using that matte black, or that black shadow from that editorial palette, and pressing that along her lower lashes. And then we're just going to go in reverse order here. All the colors that we used in the crease, we're going to go from darkest to lightest instead of lightest to darkest, just to help smoke this all out. And as you guys can see, I'm really blending this downward. I really wanted this to be a super smoky under eye, just because I felt like it was sexy. I felt like it was very sultry. And then once everything is all smoked out, just to add a little bit more intensity, I'm putting the Urban Decay 24/7 Zero Eyeliner Pencil, which is just a super black gel liner pencil, and it's probably the longest lasting one that you will find on the market. It's very good. I highly recommend it for your kit. And then I'm just going to be cleaning up the edge of the wing, which didn't need much cleaning, but I wanted the shadow to stay sharp at the bottom. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of creating a little bit of an indentation from the very base of the wing down to the bottom lash line, and then just kind of tapering it off. As you can see here, I'm just kind of patting it down, and that just kind of helps clean up the outer edge of the eye, you know, still make it very clean and very bright. Here you can kind of see I'm just cutting it a little bit, cutting into the lower lash line smokiness just a tad, just for neatness purposes, if that makes sense. Then I'm applying some eyelashes. I believe these are the Tatiti TL4s. They're one of the Tarte lashes, which you guys have seen me use quite a bit. And once that is dry, we are basically ready to go into the face. So to prime, I'm using the Farsali Unicorn Tears priming oil, which I absolutely love for combination to oily skin types. It is not as moisturizing as the Gold Elixir that they have, which is more oily. This one is really lightweight, it's really fresh, and it smells really sweet, so I like it. And then for foundation, I'm using the Milani Conceal and Perfect Foundation as usual. Again, you guys have seen me use this quite a bit because this is the foundation that I love to keep in my kit. I'm applying it first with a MAC foundation brush just to kind of place it all over before blending out with a damp beauty sponge. And this is the Real Techniques beauty sponge, which is my favorite to use so far. I'm going to order the Dirty 30s because I've heard many good things about them, but they were out of stock for like ever, so you know, kind of had to wait. And then to highlight, I am using the ColourPop concealer. I don't know what shade this is because the shade sticker came off on the bottom, but if you guys haven't tried the ColourPop concealers, I highly recommend them. They're really good. I like them more for highlighting purposes than to actually conceal underneath the eye. I still would go with my Tarte Shape Tape, but for highlighting, this is very lightweight on the face, and they have an awesome color range, so definitely check them out. And the coverage is still really good, and it's just very creamy and very smooth looking. So I'm going to be also contouring with the LA Girl Pro Concealer in Beautiful Bronze. And she already has very defined features, but I wanted to be a little extra and just really go crazy with this look. This is probably one of my favorite looks that I did for these prom tutorials. So I just wanted to take it that one step further. So we're blending out the highlighted part first with our damp beauty sponge, and then I'm going to be taking a little kabuki brush to help blend out the contour. And the LA Girl Pro Concealer, it's a very matte, very drying concealer, so your playtime with it isn't very long before it really starts to settle and dry, and you have to work that much harder to blend it out. But you know, just take your time with it and really work it into the foundation, because at first it does look very harsh and you might get a little discouraged, but once you really start to blend this down into the foundation, it is a beautiful, beautiful contouring product. So I still highly recommend it. This is something I've used in my kit for a long time, and I will find myself still going back to it time and time again. And then for the nose, I am just using a much smaller little blending brush and just kind of going back and forth between the brush and my sponge to help keep things nice and precise, because you know with the nose it's a very tight small area and things can get messy really fast, so you just kind of want to make sure you're taking your time and working with those two tools to help contour out the nose. So I'm then going to be setting underneath her eye. I'm using the Mac and Patrick Starr setting powder, and this is a really good powder I think to set all over the face. Not so much for highlighting, it's not my favorite, but for setting it is very beautiful. For bronzer, I'm using the Balm Toni bronzer, and I'm using this just on a large brush, just kind of lightly, more so to set the contour, not so much to warm up any further, just because the contour is still left relatively wet and we want this to stay on all night long. So that is why we go in with this extra step. And then I'm going to be highlighting with the Sam Marcel highlighting palette, and I want a very intense highlight, so that's why I'm using a small brush to do this. I'm applying this to the tops of her cheekbones, which her cheekbones are awesome, so this made it really fun, and her highlight was just popping. And if you want a more intense highlight, you do want to go in with a smaller, denser brush like this one, because a tapered brush will just kind of give you a natural glow, and you'd have to go over and over with different layers to help really make it this bright, whereas a tight brush like this will make it intense just right off the bat. So like I said, that is the look we were going for this one, so I wanted to make sure I did that. And of course highlighting the Cupid's bow, chin, and nose area as well. And then I'm also going to be taking that same highlighter and just using this to highlight her inner corners of her eyes, and I just am so in love with this look. I don't remember what shade I used for blush. I know it was one of the Bare Minerals Generation Nude blushes, but I can't remember the shade right now, but I'll have it listed down below. And I'm just going over her brows with some brow gel in case any powder fell on it. And I'm taking this Jeffree Star liquid lipstick, I think this is Gemini, and I'm just outlining the center of her lips first, and then going in with a lighter color in the center. It just really created this nice neutral shade. It really complemented the eye look very well. And I feel like it just gives that nice ombre effect without being too dramatic on the ombre effect. It's just like a nice subtleness to the lips, and gives them a little bit of a plump as well. Even though her lips are already naturally beautiful, it's just like, you know, that little extra something something. And yeah, I'm doing this with a lip brush also. If you have problems blending your shades for an ombre lip, try using a blending brush on the edges just to kind of pat it in there to help blend them out. And here I'm just evening out the lower part of her lip that I can sometimes miss. And here is the completed look. I am so in love with this look and how it came out. Let me know what you guys think down below, and if you guys would try this out for yourselves. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in my next one.